sidelines. Allen Iverson with the stick, and it's incomplete.
And it's gone! Two-run home run for the QB.
Back, Bo Jackson, holy Toledo, 90 yards.
You are a real man, Dion, I'll say that.
There was a time when the figure of the two-sport athlete stood as a symbol of American possibility. A person whose sheer physical gifts and incredible ambition allowed them to thrive, not in one arena but many. And I don't mean players who practiced multiple sports at the same time, like Antonio Brown and Baker Mayfield doing karate on the football field, or Randy Johnson who was hunting and pitching on the same play, or any hockey player who learns to box just to survive the game of hockey. Instead, picture the college athlete darting from one practice to another, exhausted yet making the most of his athletic gifts, chasing not just one dream but two or three. Today, that image feels like a relic, a vestige of a bygone era where sports were less specialized, less corporatized, and above all else, more adventurous. The two-sport athlete has become nearly extinct, and in that disappearance lies a story of how American sports culture itself has changed. And I, Brandon Perna, as a two-sport athlete myself, am uniquely qualified to talk about this subject. I mean, who else shoots a video about sports YouTube while wearing biker shorts? Yeah, men's biker shorts. And I know what you're thinking, Perna, is that a Manscaped shaver in your pocket, or you just happy to do this episode? It's Manscaped, which is sponsoring today's episode. More on that in a minute. First, subscribe here, because we got to get to 775,000 subs before the season starts. Today's episode is sponsored by Manscaped.com/goodsports. Manscaped, of course, offers products that help you groom your testicles and general crotchal region with the Lawnmower 5.0. They have your other head covered with the beard hedger and the face and neck shaver, total body grooming, hair wash, beard wash, and even nose hair trimmers. And now they've got the skin on your face in mind with the Skin Ultra Advanced Kit. You're probably still washing your face like a caveman, which is why you need the Skincare Ultra Kit. You get the face buffer, which vibrates for your facial pleasure, to remove dead skin and cleanse your pores. Am I doing it right? Plus, you get an exfoliating face wash, which is paraben-free and has a brightening vitamin C hydrating moisturizer. I'm doing it right now. A great skincare routine isn't just for the Patrick Batemans of the world, it's for regular gross-ass dudes. Here in Colorado, the air is dry as fuck, so I was excited to get the Skin Ultra Kit. You get 15% off everything you need to exfoliate, brighten, and moisturize your face all in one sleek box. Plus, Manscaped throws in 2 free gifts, a 3-pack of lip balm and the Shed 2.0 toiletry bag when you order the kit with my link, manscaped.com/goodsports below. Exfoliate.
Look at those cycling shorts. So beautiful. So flexible.
The archetype of the two-sport star did not begin with Bo Jackson or Neon Deion Sanders of prime time, though they loom large in our collective memory. Decades before either man thrilled crowds in stadiums and ballparks, Jim Thorp carved a path that seems almost mythical today. Born in 1887, that's right, 1887, in what is now Oklahoma, Thorp grew up in the Sac and Fox Nation, honing his endurance and athleticism on long hunting expeditions with his father. His drive to test himself against peers and nature alike made him restless, fearless, and ultimately unstoppable. Thorp's talents exploded into national view at the Carlisle Indian Industrial School, where he excelled at everything from football to ballroom dancing. Dancing with the Stars. In 1912, he became an Olympic champion in the pentathlon and decathlon, despite competing with mismatched shoes after his pair disappeared before competition. He smashed records and awed a Swedish king who told him, "Sir, you are the greatest athlete in the world." Thorp didn't stop there. He played 6 seasons of Major League Baseball, starred in early professional football, and was the NFL's first president. He was a player, a coach, and a pioneer. He embodied the ideal of the all-around athlete in an era before sports seasons stretched year-round, before the professionalization of youth sports demanded specialization at younger and younger ages, and before financial incentives dictated athletic careers so thoroughly. He remained a touchstone for greatness long after his death, ranked by the Associated Press as the greatest athlete of the first half of the 20th century. Now fast forward to the late 20th century, and American sports once again marveled at multi-sport wonders. Bo Jackson was a sensation whose highlights feel like fever dreams even in hindsight. The towering home run to lead off the 1989 All-Star Game, the wall-running catch.
Bo knows exactly what he's doing. Spider-Man!
The impossible speed for a man his size. The Bo Knows Nike campaign wasn't just clever advertising, it was a reflection of how in awe the public was from an athlete who could seemingly do everything.
Bo, you don't know diddly.
Jackson's football career was cut short by a devastating hip injury, but his legend endured precisely because he let us imagine what was possible. And while his football resume was shorter, we're talking about a guy who was an MLB All-Star and had 1,000 yards from scrimmage in the same frickin' calendar year. It's something we're never going to see again, and it happened because Al Davis, for all his flaws, was receptive to the idea of Bo playing 2 sports, allowing him to finish out the season in Kansas City before joining the Raiders in LA. Bo originally didn't even want to do both. He turned down $7 million as the first overall pick in the 1986 NFL Draft to play for $1 million with the Royals in Major League Baseball. But Al Davis allowed it to happen, gave Bo a massive signing bonus, and because of that, we have the second coming of Jim Thorp in the late 1980s. Now, Bo wasn't the most polished baseball player. That year, he was an all-star in 1989. He hit 32 homers in 135 games and stole 26 bases. But he also led the league in strikeouts with 172, playing about 80% of the season. For reference, in 1989, Tony Gwynn struck out just 30 times, playing in 23 more games. Bo wasn't the most refined, but it's a testament to his supreme athleticism that he achieved temporary greatness in the sport that requires the most skill. Deion Sanders was his own brand of 2-sport athlete. I mean, he still is his own brand, but Deion, in a very bold attempt to play in an NFL game and an MLB playoff game on the same day in October of 1992, is one of the great sports travel achievements of our time. The logistics were absurd. Limousines, helicopters, chartered planes were all set up for Deion with the backing of Nike. Sanders played nearly every defensive snap for the Falcons in Miami before racing back to Pittsburgh to suit up for the Braves that night, though he didn't end up playing in the baseball game. The mere fact that he tried speaks volumes about what the 2-sport athlete once represented. An exuberant defiance of limits. Unfortunately, even if Falcons head coach Jerry Glanville was okay with it, it really pissed off a lot of baseball purists who thought he was making a mockery of the game.
Last night, Deion Sanders apparently upset with Tim McCarver's criticisms of his 2-sport day last Sunday. Felt like he would gain a measure of revenge, not with champagne, but by dousing McCarver with 4 tubs of ice water.
You are a real man, Deion, I'll say that.
More proof that baseball purists hate when people want to watch fucking baseball.
Doused with champagne in a championship locker room. Broadcasters never like it.
You guys really hate when people who aren't all in on baseball have a reason to watch, don't you?
It burns, it smells, it ruins your clothes.
Now, the most impressive thing about Deion Sanders was that he played baseball consistently from 1989 to 1995 and all the way into the year 2001. In 1994, he stole 38 bases, scored 58 runs, and hit 106 balls. He had 2 seasons where he finished top 10 in stolen bases. 1994, Deion Sanders may have been one of the most impressive years by any athlete ever. Not only did he steal 38 bases, he hit a respectable .283 and won a Super Bowl with the 49ers, a year in which he intercepted 6 passes, scored 3 defensive touchdowns, and he was also named Defensive Player of the Year that season. I was honestly a little too young to even appreciate what Deion was doing. And maybe now you can understand why I would love to see that shit again. Dave Winfield is another emblem of an era when such versatility was still at least conceivable. As a 6'6" dynamo at the University of Minnesota, Winfield was so gifted that he was drafted by 4 professional leagues: MLB, NBA, ABA, and NFL, even though he hadn't played organized football since childhood.
Winfield skipped the minor leagues and joined the Padres immediately. He was in high demand by everyone, having been drafted by all 3 major sports.
The San Diego,
which of course in German means a whale's vagina.
Padres scooped him up in the first round and put him straight onto their major league roster, skipping the minors entirely. Winfield might have become a 2-sport star himself, but unlike Jackson or Sanders, he never seriously entertained it, knowing baseball was his passion. But his career path speaks to a time when teams and leagues recognized and coveted raw, all-around athleticism rather than channeling talent into a single lane from an early age. Dave Logan is a more modest but equally telling example, a high school standout in Colorado. That's right, Colorado. Logan excelled in football and basketball at the University of Colorado, was drafted by the NBA and NFL. That's incredibly rare, and ultimately chose a professional football career, spending 8 years as a reliable wide receiver for the Browns and Broncos. His story, like Winfield's, tells us that until quite recently, it was still possible for elite athletes to keep multiple doors open, at least through their college years. And no, I don't count soccer players who also kick field goals for fun. Okay? Today, the very structure of sports works against that possibility, and multi-sports athletes tend to die at the collegiate level. College sports have become year-round commitments. Football players are expected at spring practice, and baseball players attend fall ball. Coaches design exhaustive off-season regimens for strength, conditioning, and skill development that leave no room for athletes to play elsewhere. The risk of injury looms large, especially for athletes in revenue-generating sports where a single loss can cost millions in tournament payouts or TV contracts. Even in the Ivy League, where scholarships are still forbidden and academics are prized, the rise of commercialization has made coaches more protective than ever. The financial incentives run even deeper at the professional level, driving choices earlier in an athlete's career. Consider Kyler Murray, who had the rare opportunity to be a first-round pick in both the NFL and MLB drafts. His decision to choose football wasn't just about passion, because that would have been Call of Duty. It was about immediate financial calculus. A quarterback on a rookie first-round NFL deal can expect millions of dollars as a baseline, far exceeding the modest minor league salaries and uncertain trajectory of most MLB players, even top picks.
Did you guys see the payroll of the Oakland A's versus his contract? Enough said.
Murray is the outlier who retained his dual sport potential longer than most, but even he was forced to pick a lane before either career fully began. And Kyler is a talented quarterback, but I wonder often how we would view him in totality if he spent his summers playing center field for the A's. The Sacramento A's. Kyler is the most recent example of an insanely gifted athlete having opportunities in 2 pro leagues. Russell Wilson was drafted by the Colorado Rockies before he ultimately chose football. John Elway, drafted by the Yankees. Tom Brady and Jameis Winston were technically drafted by the Expos and the Rangers coming out of high school. It's always football and baseball because those 2 sports have the right timelines to complement each other, and quarterbacks who also pitch makes a ton of sense, right? There was also a run on basketball players being converted to tight ends in the late 90s and early 2000s. Allow me to list off a few. Tony Gonzalez was a hooper at Cal. Julius Thomas was a basketball player. Jimmy Graham as well. And you probably weren't aware of this, but San Diego Chargers great Antonio Gates did in fact play basketball. Gates never even played college football. He just showed up to a tryout and decided to become a Hall of Famer at a sport he hadn't played since high school. I don't think that part gets talked about enough, but Antonio Gates was a fucking freak. But all those guys ultimately, even in the conversion process, chose just one sport in the end. What we do talk about is Michael Jordan retiring from the NBA for 2 years to play a sport he hadn't played since high school, baseball.
It burns, it smells, it ruins your clothes.
You don't see a lot of 6'6" position players in baseball. At that size and lankiness, it's hard to maintain a compact swing, and while Jordan didn't blow anyone away in Birmingham, he hit over 200 with 51 runs batted in. People like to look back on that time like he was a terrible baseball player, but given the circumstances, that mid-career shift was impressive. He probably joins the White Sox at some point if he stuck with it, but he had to settle He had to settle for 3 more victories in the NBA Finals. So, oh well. Boo-hoo. And I think I'd have my Broncos fan card revoked if I didn't mention one Tim Tebow. That's right, Tim Tebow. Sure, it didn't look like he knew how to play football at times.
What's wrong with him?
But after Tim Tebow's NFL career ended, he did give baseball a shot. Did he actually ever play for the Mets? I can't remember. But I do credit Tim Tebow for actually being a 3-sport player. NFL, whatever he did in the MLB, and of course, preaching. He is an elite level preacher.
And he's wearing a shirt, but it's so old and tattered and ripped that you could barely make out what it represented. Was wearing a orange and blue, number 15, Florida Gator Tim Tebow jersey.
But the disappearance of the 2-sport athletes on the top professional level is no accident. It reflects a broader transformation of youth sports into pipelines feeding specialized year-round development programs. By high school, athletes are encouraged, often pressured, to choose one sport. At least in the kinds of high schools where sports are held above education the way God intended. The benefits of multi-sport participation, from reduced injury risk to broader skill development, are frequently cited but routinely ignored by a culture obsessed with early mastery and competitive edge. The irony is that many top college coaches still value multi-sport athletes for their athleticism and adaptability, but the system itself discourages young athletes from getting there. But according to everything we know, athletes, especially young ones, should not be focusing in on just one single sport. I think the greatest oversight in that system is that when you master multiple sports, that can provide unique advantages to athletes in the single sport they eventually land on. I often think about Jokic getting compared to a water polo player. Jokic didn't play water polo competitively, okay, but as a child, he played it recreationally, and something as simple as the way he holds the ball and moves it around is a skill that was aided in development by doing something other than basketball when he was growing up. Youth sports offer many benefits, but early specialization in a single sport is increasingly raising concerns among medical professionals. Focusing on one sport year-round, especially before adolescence, can lead to overuse injuries because children's bodies are still developing and are more vulnerable to repetitive stress. These injuries that you especially find in sports like baseball, basketball, gymnastics, swimming, and hockey are not necessarily tied to any specific sport, but to the strain of doing the same motions repeatedly without sufficient rest. Little League pitchers should not be getting Tommy John surgery because they're playing travel ball year-round. The psychological impact is also pretty grueling. What may begin as recreational fun can quickly become high-pressure competition, causing burnout and diminishing your child's enjoyment of the activity.
I can't believe we have to keep playing. Nobody told us if we won too many games we'd go into the finals.
Experts recommend that parents monitor their children for signs of waning enthusiasm or fatigue and encourage participation in multiple sports to promote balanced development and reduce injury risk. While theories like the 10,000-hour rule might lead you to believe early training is necessary for success, research does not support this in sports. In fact, there is some evidence that later specialization may actually lead to better athletic outcomes. Allowing the body and mind time to develop through varied athletic experiences, along with scheduled periods of rest, is important for long-term athletic success and well-being. I think we were breeding a lot of specialized athletes that probably grew up to hate their parents, but to some extent, I believe the public has learned that you want your kids playing as many different sports as they desire. But even after we get past childhood, into school, into college, the specialization wall is going to hit them around the time they turn 17 or 18, which was the same time my dreams of playing professional sports died. I blew out both of my wrists from repeated singularly focused masturbation practices. Nobody told me to give that a rest. Had I known then I needed masturbatory rest days, maybe these wrists would be throwing heaters for the Rockies. The loss, though, is profound, both for athletes and fans. The two-sport star was more than a curiosity. It was a symbol of versatility, ambition, and joy. Watching Bo Jackson crush baseballs one week and run over linebackers the next was an experience that transcended any one sport. Deion Sanders intercepting passes in the NFL while stealing bases for the Braves felt like watching someone break the very rules of athletic possibility. These figures weren't just performers. They were avatars of a kind of freedom. Freedom to excel, to experiment, to play. In today's landscape, that freedom has shrunk. Sports culture has become more efficient, more focused, more lucrative, and less willing to tolerate the risk, the unpredictability, and the wonder, the fucking wonder that two-sport athletes embodied. Would Jim Thorp, growing up today, even get a chance to try? Would Bo Jackson be advised by agents and coaches to pick football or baseball at 16? Would Winfield's ability across multiple sports even matter in a world that demands specialization before high school ends? The answer is yes. Sadly, they wouldn't get a chance, and I think that does a disservice to athletes and to fans. The brutal truth also is we have never seen a truly dominant two-sport athlete outside of, say, Bo Jackson. If there were more success stories, we'd see more examples. If you look at Deion, Bo, and even Michael Jordan, they were all clearly much better at one sport than the other. The two-sport athlete isn't just in decline, it's become unimaginable. And in losing them, we lose something romantic about sports themselves, that they once represented boundless possibility and the wonders of human physical capability. The question isn't just where the two-sport athletes have gone, it's what we've lost by making it so hard for them to exist at all. We murdered the two-sport athlete. We should all be serving life. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Two sports. Hey, sometimes we're mostly football. Fuck, I'm not even a two-sport athletic talker. I can't even talk about two sports, and I'm whining about the death of two-sport athletes? I'm a hypocrite.